Hello. I'm just sitting here editing my video where I interviewed Jason. Interview seems too formal. I chatted with Jason, our manager, and a few things. You're gonna learn a lot, get a lot of advice from him if you watch this. There's also, it was his day off, so he was out in his garage, like his remote office that he's been using during the pandemic. I swear to God, he has a real office, but this was one of his days off. And there's a dog barking in the background, and I've been talking to him during the pandemic in that office, like every day for a year and a half until he started going back in office, and I've never heard that dog. So my apologies for the barking dog. My apologies for the barking dog. But enjoy, here is our talk. Hello everyone. It's me.
Hello everyone.
And Jason.
I'm here in the flesh.
It's weird because you guys probably don't really know Jason, but you kind of do because he is a really big part of the band.
Sometimes referred to as the marketing department.
Even though you think you might be talking to us, but really...
Well, sometimes you guys do replies more than I do. I reply to, like, this morning someone said, hey, like, I've tried to buy tickets for Limp Bizkit Spiritbox in the UK. They just went on sale this morning. And I was like, hey, I'm really sorry to break this news to you, but we're not playing in the UK.
Aww.
You know, like, I try to reply to that kind of stuff because, you know, I don't want someone being bummed out. But yeah, anything that's like natural and organic, you guys usually do.
I know, but it's nice because then people kind of know you even if they don't know you.
Yeah, but I try to put some of my own humor, like when I tweeted the Holy Roller thing, the religious call it lint roller.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just too funny not to post.
I know. So far he's on thin ice, but so far he's gonna become corrupted by his own power though. But I think that like a lot of people that are watching this don't quite know what a manager does, and even myself, like I didn't quite know what a manager was supposed to do and didn't understand like red flags in a working relationship with a manager, and I didn't know what like the customary average manager that's a good manager does. And I don't know if that's like purposely like musicians are kept in the dark about that so that we don't know, so that all the managers can just do their own thing or what. But I feel like what just so people understand, what do you think like defines specifically an artist manager?
Well, there's really no like set job description. Like if you were to like there's no like apply to be an artist manager on a job posting board and it lists out all of your duties and all of the things you're supposed to do, because I think it varies per client and project, like what you can help with, what you can't help with, who has a creative vision, who needs a creative vision. You know, I think everyone's so case by case, but I think like fundamentally speaking, an artist manager is literally supposed to do anything and everything in their power to help that project, to help, you know, spread the gospel to anyone in the industry that's willing to listen, to, you know, fighting for opportunities, to creating strategies, to, you know, trying to get the record deal. And once the record deal's there, like, you know, like you literally do everything. But I think over time, as the relationship develops with the client, it kind of becomes a little more clear. Like in our case, like in the beginning, I think it was kind of the Wild West where so much like late night emails or, you know, just things that maybe don't happen as much now because we're so like, we're just sort of in a formula now. But I think it just like you become that like you said, ghost member of the band. You're there for anything and everything. Like I literally am on the phone like playing Dr. Phil sometimes to a person in the band, or the next phone call I'm like, like giving the biggest sales pitch of why this band deserves this opportunity. And um it's like such a hard answer because we literally do everything, like from making, I mean, I think the most important thing a manager does is builds relationships, because without that network of people that enjoy you as a person, believe in you as a person, know that you've got some street smart, you've got some book smart, you have a good ear. Without those people believing in you, no matter what you sell them, is not going to get an opportunity. So I think the most important thing I've learned over the years is to keep those relationships uh, like in good standing and continue to build new relationships, because this entire industry is about not only selling the product, like the band or the product, it's you're also selling yourself, and it's like anything. Like you go into any um, job interview, like you might be completely qualified to do the job for sure, but if you didn't really, come off as a strong personality, or sometimes they're looking for more than what's on paper, right? Like they like people want to know like that they can believe in you and invest in you, because they're the ones who are going to have to talk to me all the time. And if I'm not an enjoyable person, they don't want to talk to me about whatever band I got.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just such a hard thing to answer, but um it's like, yeah, like you just become that second member, you become the dad, you become the marketing department, you become a strategy, you become analytics, you become everything. Like, it's like, I don't know. I can't really answer it. It's hard. It's hard to answer.
Well, the more you think about it, the more you realize that your job is fucking crazy, and
Yeah.
you need 5 people to do your job.
But like, look, like there's so many things that come up, like because of the relationships and people I've met and know, that in almost any situation that comes up, whether it's 3 months time to do something or 3 days time to do something, I have different people I can call to help me do that. And I know
Mm.
if I have 3 weeks notice because we're going on tour with Limp Bizkit, I know I know the people that I can call that are going to be there to help us, um, make it a smooth tour, and for crew, or like everything. Like I have to, like there's like a whole like system to this industry where it's like there's like merch people, there's tour managers, there's front of house people, there's guitar techs, there's guitar companies, and there's buses and bandwagons and vans and trailers and immigration, and there's like so many things you have to know and do, and not everything you can be an expert at. That's why most of the time it's recognizing within the relationships you have who are the experts you can call to be part of your team.
Most managers, like, no one has a simple story of how they got into it. It's always like a long story, but like, what's your what's like your highlight reel of how you went from like Jason that works at the tattoo shop to now Jason that works at one of the top management companies in the world at Roc Nation?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always been into music just as a lover, a fan of music, right? Like, and the alternative stuff. Like, I mean, I listen to punk and hardcore, and I listened to Nirvana and Offspring and random things when I was younger. But I think when I got introduced to sort of the Warped Tour world, um, and metalcore and everything, like it just struck a chord with me that I just knew I wanted to eventually be part of that machine. I just didn't know what at the time, but I was like, I just have like a calling for this world, so to speak, and I don't know what it is I'm gonna do yet, but I'm gonna figure it out. And I played in a band because I always thought being in a band was cool and just was fun. Like we were like a shitty punk rock band, and then we turned into a shitty screamo band, and like you know, made friends and relationships there. Like I mean, the guys in Let Live to the Ghost Inside, like those were people like my band was playing with like fucking 15, 20 years ago when they were in different bands, you know? So, and we're still friends to this day. So, um, I just always had this feeling like I was going to do something, but the band didn't really quite work out. And within the band, I was sort of the managerial person. Like I was designing our own merch because we didn't have any money to pay someone to do it. I was figuring out how we could do a music video with a friend who just got out of film school and conned him into his dad loaning him money to make our first music video, which like nobody ever saw because YouTube wasn't really a thing. So
I'd give anything to see your music video.
I have it on a CD drive. One day you can see it. But yeah, like I was just that person in the band, right? And it wasn't because I had passion for it. It was just out of necessity. Like I had to be this person because no one else in my band knew anybody. Like they were just like, I just play drums and I like go to school and I don't really like I don't know anyone in this world, you know? And so that was just me. I was all about like who can I meet to help, you know? And um so I think by the time I recognized this band thing really isn't gonna work out for me, it just wasn't in my path of life. um I always had, a really good ear and eye for like art, creative direction. And I really loved marketing. I really loved photography. Like I had taken photography in high school and, took some web design classes in college. Like I always loved multimedia. And so I figured like, how can I at least apply that and stay within music? Like what can I do to at least be part of the machine if I'm not going to be a singer or a screamer? So I took some like odd jobs here and there where like I designed album art for some friends and, did that whole thing. And um, some of the people that I had met along the way, like a really good photographer friend of mine, Michelle Starr, she was getting all kinds of like, she used to work for David LaChapelle. And I was like, that's like one of the biggest, coolest dudes you could work for. And she was like, hey, I'm doing this freelance job for this company called Skull Animals. And I'm doing all the photography and they need like a music marketing person. And I think you should come interview for it. Like, I know you haven't really done this for a company or for a job, but I just think you have a good understanding in the relationships. You should come meet with them. And I was like, what the hell is Skull Animals? And what is this? And so I like looked it up and there was these like little morbid, like cute stuffed animals that had like skeleton bodies, and it was like basically like dead animals,
Yeah,
And I was,
it was like Happy Bunny stuff, like
yeah,
weird,
but it was
cute
like kind of
things
like
with
cute and
grossness. Yeah.
and it was like just getting into Hot Topic, and like people seem to really like it, and I was like, I don't know, maybe this is maybe I don't know if I'm into this, but I'll go see what it's all about. And because I was like, I don't know how to market stuffed animals, and And when I like met with them, she said, we really like we're getting into Hot Topic, and it's like the perfect demographic, and we just don't know anyone in music, like the bands, and like what bands would we even try to go do campaigns with, and like how do we get a tent on Warped Tour, like what do we do? And they were so um innocent, like they just didn't know our world, know the world that I knew. And so right away I was like, this is crazy because, I know this world. I know exactly who you should partner with. And like, I know all these people from, maybe they never gave my band an opportunity, but I figured, well, now that there's something more legitimate and bigger that I can call them about, maybe they'll give me a chance with this. At the time, not a lot of people were approaching bands with, hey, we want to run an ad in alternative press with your band and help promote you. And like, all you have to do is just like, agree to the creative and do something fun and silly. And, that's really it. And so I kind of recognized through that process some things that I felt were missing in artist management. But again, I was like, who am I to say? I don't know. I don't have any proof of concept. I'm just analyzing at this point. But then I approached my boss at the time and said, hey, I think we should do something with some like unsigned artists. Like all these other bands are really cool, and certainly they help grow the brand and awareness and all that stuff. But like we should work with one or two people that like nobody knows, and how can we help break them? Because to me, that was exciting, and like and especially thinking as at myself, or being in the band that I was in, I was like, I wish someone would have come to me with an opportunity like this. Or as a manager, I wish I'd be like, what company can I go to create a partnership like this? So I just figured I wanted to create that opportunity. And at the time, it was a band called Automatic Love Letter, which features Juliet Sims. And the other artist was a Christian kind of fun pop rock band called Family Force 5. With Juliet, we um, got her into Hot Topic. Like we ran so many advertisements and in-store ads and posters and campaigns at Hot Topic. Was like, who is this girl? Like, what is this band? And she's fucking talented. Like, we're just, how can we help support her? So we actually convinced them to take in her EP, and they sold like thousands of her EP. And that was just like such a cool moment for me to say, like, wow. I mean, I didn't do it alone, of course, but it was like just such a rewarding thing seeing how that really helped her. And from there, she went on to do Warped Tour and went on to do The Voice and all kinds of crazy stuff in her career. But it's just a cool thing to really see how much that helped her. And then on the Family Force 5 side, they sort of were lacking support at retail as well. And Skull Animals had an opportunity to do a really big campaign during Halloween, like at Target, and so we were like, okay, that's cool, but what else can we do? Like all the signage and all the fun little costumes and stuffed animals and stuff, like what else can we do? And so we came up with an idea to basically keep the party alive, and it was to have people throw house parties and not go out and not take candy from strangers and not, it's just like weird times. So I was like, how do we just let people have their own little house parties and celebrate, with their friends? And so we wanted to create a soundtrack to that party. And so we asked Family Force 5 to do some covers and originals that were themed, pitched the idea to Target, and they loved it, and the band recorded the EP and sold thousands of copies in Target.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And then the next Family Force 5 record, Hot Topic brought in, and they were, sorry, Target, they like brought it in and started selling that next record. Like the record label didn't do that.
Yeah,
Like,
you're like, I should be managing these people.
you know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
and to be fair, they had a really, really, really great manager, this guy named Chris Woltman. But he recognized the challenges they were having, and he came to Skull Animals and recognized we could help because he saw what we did with Automatic Love Letter, and he saw what we were doing. So I think like he had the right like mentality. He was like, I'm recognizing where we need help, and these people can help do it. But on my side, I was like, man, we just help do so, we helped do something really cool for this band that like changed a little bit of their career for that time, um and they sold thousands of EPs. It was crazy. Like, Target is like 7,000 stores. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I did not know that. I did not know. Like, Jason brags so little about anything cool that he's done that, like, I've known him for almost 10 years now, and then just talking to him casually, like, he'll just, oh, yeah, and then I did this. I'm just like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, well,
You did what? And you're like, yeah, yeah, I did that like 10 years ago. And it's like,
yeah,
Jesus, dude.
so that was that moment where I was just like, man, this is what I want to do. Like I love working for this brand and I love helping the artist, but I want to be on the other side. Like I want to be with the artist. I want to recognize like Chris was like, and Chris went on to manage 21 Pilots,
I mean,
and he's killing it. Like
yeah,
he is the man. But I think those are those moments where I was like, yeah, like I want to be that guy. Like, you know, he wasn't too proud to recognize what he couldn't do on his own or what his label couldn't accomplish, and he went out and found the opportunity. And I saw how much that helped the artist. So I was just like, I want to be next to the artist, and I want to be that guy. And
mm-hmm.
it took some time because I was like, I don't have any bands I'm managing. I just like wanted to do it. And so it took a little bit. Like with my boss's approval, I started helping out some like metal bands that I really just liked, and on the side, and as long as it didn't interfere with anything, and unless they made perfect sense to help advertise and do stuff with the company, it wasn't like a guaranteed thing, you know, like it wasn't like, oh, I'm managing this band, so all of a sudden the company I work for is going to dump a bunch of money into it. Because of course the stuff I was interested in was metal, you know, and it didn't always make sense. She was into more digestible stuff.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I started working with some bands on the side, and again through the relationships that I made at Skull Animals, um, and at Hot Topic, and just all the people, Kevin Lyman, like all the things that we were able to do, I valued those relationships, and I knew that eventually I'd need those people again. You know, no matter what I did, I would need them again at some point. So also throughout that time, my like I started to build a bitter relationship with my boss, and I was managing a couple bands, and then I was like, hey, I want to do my own clothing line, and like I'd love to, you know, like I'd love to do it here. I'd love for you guys to part own it and invest in it and whatever. So we did. We started our own line, and we went straight into Hot Topic. Like I think their first order was like 8 designs,
damn.
um, and we made a lot of money. But it was more so like, again, my thing was like, how do I take that and help the bands, right? So in that moment, I started pushing the bands I was working with. It was a slow thing where I sort of started to get tired of the clothing retail and marketing stuff, and I just eventually said, I'm just going to jump all in on management. But I knew that financially it wouldn't be enough to sustain myself because the artists were all developing and no one really knew them. So um, with that same idea, I was like, well, these artists are also unsigned, and how am I going to get these bigger labels to sign them? So we decided to create a label at the same time, and I went back to Hot Topic and created a direct to distribution deal with Hot Topic where they were the exclusive physical retailer for the records we put out. So I'd signed Sea of Treachery and No Bragging Rights and Molotov Solution and a couple others that we were managing, as well as putting their records out. And we were shipping thousands of records to Hot Topic, and Molotov Solution was really not a Hot Topic band, but because we had that direct relationship, you know, they started to sell a lot of records and started to do a lot of cool things, like, you know, so that was kind of it. It was that moment of like, I want to do this, but I need to figure out how to be smart about it, where I can sustain managing these bands, and the challenges of trying to sign to other labels, because a lot of people told us no, but we figured out how to do it, and it just kind of went from there. And then unfortunately that label fell apart because of a business partner that I had who just kind of got bored of it. But once that deteriorated, I like just jumped in fully on the management side. And um, I've worked at probably, I don't know, five-ish different companies along the way.
Hmm.
But yeah, those are the early days.
Yeah, and then it's like it's funny because a lot of that what you've said is very very specific to your relationship with us. You
Yeah.
know, you kind of did that the 2.0 version for our band, you know, years and years later. So
Yeah, it's
it's
like,
a
but
good
it's like,
idea.
but having those relationships is like the reason it all can happen. Like
Yeah.
without those people willing to give you a chance, like it just can't happen. Like you can't do it by yourself, you know? And so you have to find the people willing to invest in you. And thankfully everyone I've met has given me a chance. You know, I've certainly had some people who have not cared for me, and I've made some people upset in my time, you know? Like I'm not going to pretend like I've done everything perfect, because there were certainly times where I was younger and naive and pissed some people off along the way,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I was trying to be too loud in the room. And um, I thought that was how you got noticed. But slowly I learned the managers that I respected were the quietest in the room, and they
Mm-hmm.
let all their actions speak louder, and the bands were the forefront and not them. Because early on, I think, you know, people think that if you're well known, then anything you have is just gonna be given an opportunity, and that's not really the case. You know, it's like some of the companies that no longer exist, like, you know, as I was coming up, they were trying to be too loud. They wanted their company to be bigger than the bands they were working with. And so I learned quickly that was not the way to approach this. So so I always try to be the quiet one in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know something about me, then awesome. But I don't, I don't, like you said, there's things I haven't even told you. We've known each other for 10 years. I don't,
I know you just don't want to brag about it because it's like you don't need to.
like, and social media has changed a lot of that too. People feel like, they have to brag and brag. I love to celebrate victories and wins. Don't get me wrong, but um, I don't know. I've learned a lot. Like I definitely was younger, and in my younger time was more naive and probably a little more obnoxious. But once I pissed a few people off, I was like recognizing that that's not the way to do it. You know, you need these
Yeah.
people in your corner.
Well, I have a couple questions from some people that are kind of some of them are just management stuff in general, and some of it's like about us. Um, but one person asked a really good question that all of us are always wondering. Um, Stephen asked, how is it to juggle the fast pace of Spiritbox Rise with the requirements of brand development with your other bands and like Pale Chord and stuff? It's like how is that have how do you do that? Like how do you focus really hard on a band but then make sure that you're still like watering the rest of your
Yeah,
flowers, you
I mean
know?
that's something that's really something I've learned over the years too, because there's been times where I felt like quality was more important than, or sorry, quantity was more important than quality. And maybe it was out of necessity because certain bands individually weren't earning enough to sustain. So you sort of had to get a bunch of little flowers, and now you've got a big garden.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the problem is you can't manage a big garden by yourself, and you start to compete where you have three bands that are so similar that they could all go after the same opportunity,
Yeah.
and which one do you push? And if the other one gets the opportunity and the other band is pissed at you because they feel it should have been theirs, it gets really, really tricky. And it certainly happened. Like, I was working with three bands that sonically are different, but opportunity wise, all the same. I was working with a band called Expire, Counterparts, and Capsize, and they're all within that hardcore, melodic hardcore genre. And Expire wanted to do crossover tours like Stick to Your Guns and things like that instead of the like super hardcore stuff. And Counterparts was doing all those tours, and Capsize one of those tours. And um, I think I put myself into a corner when I did that because ultimately I lost one of those bands. I don't necessarily know if it was truly because of that, but um, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to balance that sometimes. And so thankfully, I mean, I learned the hard way, and that's like a lot of this game is there's no rule book, so you kind of have to learn what you can and can't do, and figure out your capacity, and you just have to do it the hard way. So, yeah, I was fired by one of those bands, and I had to realize I got to learn from this, and I can't have too much that I can't focus on, and I can't have stuff that's competing with one another. So I think I've just gotten smarter over the years of recognizing that, and the artists that I do have on the management side, I've changed to quality over quantity, and stuff that I really, really am just like overly passionate about, and that I know because I love it so much, I'm not going to forget anything. And I'm not going to say who, but certainly I've worked with some bands that I didn't feel that way before about. Like, I didn't feel like I fucking love this band. I would listen to it stuck in traffic on the freeway. I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've done stuff earlier in our careers purely for necessity, and that's the wrong way to do it because it doesn't serve the artist and it doesn't serve yourself. Ultimately, like, it's just not good. So um, some people still do that. I don't know why. I've just learned not to do that. So
Yeah.
I try to only have things I'm really passionate about. Like, there's times where I'll wake up at like midnight to go to the bathroom or get some water or something. And I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta do this tomorrow for so and so. Like, it's always on my mind. And if those moments don't happen for the artists I work with, then I shouldn't be working with
Yeah.
them. Like, I'm always thinking about them. And with the pill cord stuff, yeah, it in the earlier like conception of it, it was hard because I was doing everything. I was pretending to be the label and manager and trying to do everything. But as Spiritbox grew and grew and grew from the management side to the label side, like, it's just recognizing when it's the right time to bring people in. And like, obviously the Rise BMG partnership was what made the most sense for us out of
Yeah.
people we talked to, and thankfully they recognized the value of Palecord and being a part of that growth. And so now they've come in to help. So I don't have to do as much as I used to do. Um, and I can focus more on manager of Spiritbox versus like trying to also be the label.
All logistic
Yeah. And so
things.
it's gotten better, but again, it's just like recognizing when to bring people in and when they're going to give you an opportunity, or if they're even interested in helping you. Like, and sometimes it takes a long time for that to happen. It took us like 4 years basically before somebody bigger um, came along to like say, hey, like, we love what you're doing and we want to help, we want to amplify it. And sometimes that never happens for people. So it's I just think we're really fortunate. And um, but it hasn't slowed down. Like, we're fucking, it's like busier than ever. But I'm just thankful that At Roc Nation, I have an entire team of people to help. Like, I don't have to do everything by myself anymore.
Yeah.
And that's like, that takes time in the industry to get to that level, because we had our own management company for 6 years where it was just Andrew and I who've been working together for 11 something years, and we had to do everything. We didn't, we had a lot of bands, but it still wasn't enough money to fund hiring 5 other people to just do digital marketing, because those are the things that cost money. They don't really make you money,
Hmm.
you know. So coming to Roc Nation was just a fucking dream, because it's one of the biggest companies in our industry for management, and they also have label and sports, and just they're just an incredible company, and they have so many resources, and thankfully they have some really really big artists that can help pay for all this shit, so the pressure isn't just on Spiritbox. Like,
Yeah.
sure, we have to deliver, like I have to pay for myself, but Spiritbox isn't responsible for paying the 10+ million the company needs to survive.
Yeah.
They've got Rihanna and DJ Khaled and Jay-Z, and they've got way way bigger fish that contribute to that ecosystem. So I don't know. I think it's just like, it's been really really great to have a team of people. Like, it's no longer me, and I'm still certainly at the forefront of every conversation, but there's things that I'm no longer having to do that someone else on our team is an expert at, and I can lean on them to help.
Yeah.
But also, I'm a control freak in some aspects.
But
So
I feel like you're a control freak out of necessity. Like there hasn't ever been a thing that you've been a psycho about that I wasn't like grateful for. You know what I mean? I'd be like, why is this person doing this thing? Let Jason do it. He's doing a better job. You know, so I don't think it's ever hindered your control freakness has never hindered you, in my
yeah,
opinion.
I mean, I just like,
It's
I think
appropriate.
it's because my goal has always been, like, certainly, like, I've worked with some greater art. I've worked with As I Lay Dying and Shadows Fall and Human Abstract and a lot of great bands that I was never part of their conception. I just came in later in their career, and that was still fun and rewarding. But throughout my entire career, there's nothing more that I've wanted than taking something from planting the seed and watching it grow into the biggest tree, like, which we're doing. Like, I've wanted this moment forever. Like, I've tried it multiple times and it doesn't always work, and
Yeah.
like, there's so many factors that have to align for certain things to happen. And like, I just think we're really um I think we're really fortunate. But part of my control freakness early on was just being precious with this project. Like, from day one, telling you guys, like, you're not 18 anymore, so the risks are like higher now, because you live in a house that you pay rent for, and you have big person responsibilities. So we can't just make a bunch of decisions out of emotion and like, oh, I really just want to tour, so I don't really care any tour, let's just go tour, and then you come home losing thousands and thousands of dollars, and it's like, that's just not how this can happen. So I just, my control freakness was you know trying to spin it in the best plan, so you guys were like, okay, like, we trust this, we're going to say no to a lot of stuff, we're going to not focus on certain things, and we're going to focus on other things. And I think one of the biggest things was that when you're a kid and you're younger in a band, you don't think of it as a business, you just think of it as like this form of art and expression and everything.
Yeah. It's like the most frustrating part as an artist of like when people ask you stuff when other people in bands are like, why don't you do this, why haven't you done this, and I'm just like, let's not, clearly we're not on the same level of like the concept of this being a business, so I don't even know what to say to you. Like You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like they just they don't get it, and I can't. I'm talking like a person to person
right.
conversation, and it's like I can't educate you right now on like why
Yeah,
I'm literally selling a product. Like my art, I can create without any. I don't. I can create art. I can create my intellectual property without anything. But like I'm selling a product, and it's a
yeah,
the business aspect of it is very important so that I can like achieve everything that I want for my art.
yeah. And I don't want to make it sound like because it's so business minded that there's no artistry and expression and like all that is there. Like you guys are doing what you do naturally. Like that isn't manufactured from anyone else. That's all natural. But like my approach to it, as I've been involved in startups and little companies that have made it and some haven't, and it's always that 3 year mark, that if after 3 years this is not working, it's probably not going to.
Yeah.
But that's not always true. But that's always kind of been my rule. And for me to say, can I keep doing this or not? Like has my time been well spent, and have all the goals I've wanted to achieve for this project, where are they at? And things don't always go according to plan, and other things have to align perfectly. But for this, I was always like, it's got to be 3 years, and it has to be looked at as like we're like it's a startup company, like
Yeah.
we're starting over. And I think because we followed certain rules and we kept it, um, I know at times you guys were impatient, of course, but we had certain times where we butted heads on should we do this or not. Like, should we take a tour because we're just so eager to tour, or should we wait? Um, but I think at the end of the day, for me, as long as I'm like, as long as the plan is on paper, the artist and me are in agreement, my passion, my love is there, like it's always going to be a priority for me, and I'm not gonna let anything distract me from that. So yeah, the short answer is I've just learned to balance things better and only work on stuff that I like truly, 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 truly believe in, versus like, oh, that's a cool band. Like, I don't know, I guess I'd work with it. Like, if I don't have a vision, if I don't have like, if I don't get like struck with this lightning idea of like, fuck, like I could do so much with that. Like, I just don't entertain it. And like 5 years ago, bands that we've talked to recently that have called to see if we'd want to work with them, I would have said yes immediately. And now I'm like really grateful they called me, and I'm like honored that they thought of me. But I don't think I'm the guy for that project. Like
Yeah.
I didn't leave a conversation with the vision. So I say no. I say no to a lot more stuff now than I ever have.
Yeah.
And that's been a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And I've
It's
tried to instill that in you guys. Like,
yeah.
let's be precious, and let's learn to say no, and let's know when we can be flexible. And we've said no to a lot of stuff that some people would be like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And
You
some
can
of
say
it
that again,
some
but
of
it's
it we
just not.
probably are fucking crazy for saying no to
Yeah.
it, but it just wasn't part of the moment. Like, it just, certain things just didn't align perfectly at that time. And
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that I've just been really precious of recognizing. Um, this is gonna sound cheesy, but I feel like I'm like I've am learning from what the universe is presenting us, because I think we've manifested so many things in early conversations that are just happening, and I just feel like this isn't part of the plan now. Like,
yeah.
you know, it feels like a later time, and so I don't know. I think there is what's the saying? Um, luck is where like something and something me. I can't remember what the
I don't
saying.
know. I know what you mean. My little version of that, when people ask me, is I'm like, it's 90% luck, and then the 10%, it's like 90% luck, 5% hard work, and 5%
Oh,
talent. But like on the scale, the 10% is weighted much higher, even though it's a smaller portion of the whole
the
thing.
saying is luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's true.
yeah.
Like for us, I feel like, yeah, there's certainly been luck. Like for example, I was just talking about this. I had to do a presentation for the company about the band the other day, and I remember saying, like, someone was like, "How do you like what do you feel like you've done that's really helped propel things?" And I could like point to all kinds of things and show the data that this song or video grew this much, like all that stuff. Like sure, but I feel like all the smoke and mirrors, all the noise, everything was a level playing field. And there was no big agent or big manager who was developing an artist and just threw him on that big tour that could have gone to any band who deserved it. There
Mm,
was no, there just was no opportunity for an agenda. There's
yeah.
a lot of agendas in this world, in this industry world. And so everything was level and the noise was so low. And the 3 years that we were building a fan base and focusing online and just focusing on songs and music and the stuff that's really important, not all the other bullshit.
Hmm.
Um, but because everything was level, like people could finally hear our frequency. Like it was like finally starting to be heard. And then once Holy Roller came out, the volume just cranked to like 120, and it just really started. I mean, at Blessed Be was when I think I really started to notice it, but Holy Roller was when that shit just turned up. And I think
Sometimes I feel really like guilty and bad about that, Like I feel bad sometimes that when our band took off is like the worst time in most people's lives.
it's always how you react to that card you're dealt that's going to determine the outcome. Like you can sit there and cry about it forever. Like when I told this to so many of our artists, like yes, it absolutely sucks. We just lost $20,000 because we are on day one of this tour. We have to come home and all these fucking things. It sucks majorly. But if we just sit around and spend all of our next week complaining about this, we could be focusing that energy on our plan to make up that loss in this. Like we all have to be reactive, and I just think with this project, we've just been very reactive at the right moments. And I'm not going to say the pandemic is like some luck for us because that's like a really weird thing to say, but I feel like it's just how we reacted to it. Like it was an unfortunate thing on the planet, but as people got accustomed to what was happening and lockdown and all, just doing what we had to do, um, art, expression, music, all these things still continued. Like it was what got people through a lot of this shit.
Yeah.
And for us, it didn't feel like we shouldn't not be creating. And it just happened to be all the stars aligned. And just weird. It's weird how it happened, but
Well,
you know,
I have some more questions for you.
yeah,
You answered a bunch of them already, like without me asking them. Because Steven also asked, like, what do you look at while considering if you will or won't take on a band? Um, you answered that, and I think that's really good advice. Like, you truly don't, you don't just think of the numbers. You truly think like, do I want to do this?
yeah. Like a band called the other day, or a friend called and said, "Hey, so and so is looking for a management. They just did like 700 VIP tickets in less than 24 hours, and all these great like statistics." And it sounded like impressive, but I was like, I don't really know who this band is naturally, which is like a sign of if it's not on my radar and I have to do a bunch of education that already says something to me
Mm-hmm.
that like this probably isn't an organic fit. And um because they're like they've been around for like 20 years or something. And I'm like, I've never heard of them. So if they've been around 20 years, and like, what am I gonna do for this?
Yeah.
So I took a look at it anyways and was like, yeah, I just didn't feel a connection to it. All the stats were amazing. Most people would be like, that sounds sick.
Cool. Extra money.
Yeah, money's cool. But I was just like, I don't know. I passed on it immediately because I'm just listening to my gut more now than ever.
Well, I have here's some rapid fire ones for you from Ryan. Um, who sought out who?
What do you mean? What did it say?
Who sought out who? We sought out you because Jason managed Michael and I in Iwabo, and then we were like really, really bummed out and down when we decided to quit. And like we knew that Jason and Andrew, they were very smart, and they weren't like surprised that we were like, we're not doing Iwabo anymore. They were kind of like, this is DOA, this thing needs to stop. And our band, like, we just never listened to Jason and Andrew's really good advice. Like, I was someone that came in and was like, why are we not doing what these guys are telling us to do? Like, it's there. I agree with them. And one of the things that gave Michael and I like the most confidence is I remember we were staying at my uncle's house and we had just like quit, and we were in Connecticut, about ready to do like the lamest. We did like a show in Connecticut, and straight up like 15 people showed up. It was horrible, and um, and then we were like, we didn't want to like give you pressure, but we were just like, if we make another band, would you be interested in just hearing it and maybe giving it some advice? And you were just like, I don't care what the fuck you do, I'm on. Like, if it's you and Michael in it, I'm there. So you just let me know. And then that gave us a lot of confidence. And then a couple of years later, we finally showed you our EP that we had made, but we purposely like we didn't want to bother you with it. We wanted you to just truly work with it because you liked the music, not just because you love us.
Yeah.
And then we were like, please, Jason,
Well,
help
I
us.
think I think it's interesting because in Iwabo, you guys were filling someone else's shoes, right? It wasn't really your connection. Like, sure, you made your own songs and all
Yeah.
that on 2 records, but even then, you're still confined to like something that was already there.
Yeah. And
And
respecting the thing that's already there.
yeah, but I always knew how talented you both were from Michael's other band, and I just thought like you're not at your potential with this project, and I always knew there was more there.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's something just cool about these two, like, and I just want, I'm very, very curious to hear what comes out of it because I just I knew the potential. But so yeah, of course I was like, please send me whatever you do. I like have to hear it, because I had a good feeling about you guys. But yeah, when I first heard it, I was like, okay, all right. Like, there was some stuff that kind of like reminded me like vocally of like Straight from the Path a little bit, and like
Mm-hmm.
just all kinds of different like quick feelings about it. And I was like, yeah, like we should do this. Like this feels like you guys. Um and it had so much of Michael's signature sound and stuff that he was able to do for the first time that we've been trying to let happen in Iwabo. It just
Yeah.
wasn't going to happen. So it was really exciting and refreshing, and it just felt like something unique.
And at the time, you were at the time, from my perspective, you were managing so many bands. Like, you I don't even know, it felt like you had 30 bands that you were personally in
It
charge
felt
of.
like that. It wasn't, but it felt like
It felt like you had so many bands, and they were like all on tour at the same time and all doing all this stuff at the same time. And like, so that was always my joke to you. Remember, I would, because you don't like, I only ever get to talk to you like once every couple of weeks when you're like eating a burrito at 9:30 at night on a Thursday night, and I'd be like, I don't want to be your Thursday night band. I want to be your Monday morning. I want to be your all week band, and right
Yeah.
on Monday morning, like you're calling, like let's do this, and
Yeah. Well, I
that
mean,
was my goal.
I think early on it was, from my perspective, it was, you know, this wasn't going to be an overnight journey. So to
No,
me, it felt like there wasn't. I know it was probably a different feeling for you guys because you just created the product and you were so passionate about it and you wanted it. But I just knew that there wasn't going to be a sense of urgency with it
no,
in
and we
terms.
don't want to strong arm using your influence into something. We want to organically
Yeah, I
have
knew that this couldn't
interest.
just be slapped on any old tour, and like it just felt different to me. And um, while the other busyness was happening, I don't know, it always felt different to me. And while it may have felt like, oh, like we're getting the Thursday night call just because he's so busy, it's like I was letting things marinate, like spend time on Reddit, spend time on the internet, comment on YouTube, like do like the boring, monotonous things that don't seem important. But when you do that long enough, versus like let's go jump on this tour and lose thousands of dollars and play to 10 kids a night, it
Yeah,
does nothing. So yeah, it's funny how that all worked out, but
I know. And oh, someone said also who's on your playlist? Like, is there any new band that you just keep seeing and you're like, this next band's gonna be really fucking cool?
um that's tough to say
I feel like
because
we've been so obsessed with our band this year.
well,
We
it's
haven't.
tough to say because like I'm so proud of all the music my bands are creating that no one has heard yet.
Yeah, and you're like, that's
Like
what I'm excited for.
yeah, there's stuff that isn't on my playlist because it cannot physically be there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really excited about New Animals as Leaders. I'm really excited about We Came as Romans new stuff. Like I think like what my bands have created, we're sitting on the best stuff they've ever created in their
Crystal
career.
Lake.
Crystal Lake has they're just like
It
insane.
seems, yeah, you're right. It seems like all your artists, maybe it's because everyone had a lot of time off. Maybe it's because you've learned so much over the last couple of years, or maybe it's just coincidence. But it seems like all your artists are just making their best music they've ever made.
Yeah, but it's because we haven't been afraid to say no to the
Yeah,
artists.
yeah,
Like I don't want to be like pretend like I know how to write songs and I know how to write music and I'm like some producer. That's certainly not my job, but I know when my artist has sent me something that is their absolute best or something that doesn't feel quite there yet.
yeah,
In the past, I've been scared to say things because I don't want to bum out the artist, and it's not my job to write the music. But at the end of the day, I have to sell it. I have to be the one to get people excited about it. And sometimes I'm wrong, but I just learned to tell people that I don't know, guys. I think there's something better here. Like this is probably gonna bum you out, but let's put this song to the left and let's see what we can create. And we put these
mm-hmm.
next two together and we choose the best one. Like, and ultimately, because doing that, I mean, we came as Romans. We told them like 10 songs they sent us that were demoed out. We told them to throw everything away,
Yeah,
and they were so bummed because they thought it was the best stuff ever. But I said, no, it's not. You can
yeah,
do so much better. Like if you want to put out the next record that, for Kyle's sake and to just become a bigger, better band, like you're capable of more. And so yeah, they were really upset for like 2.5 weeks. And then the next two songs they sent us were just like mind blowing.
yeah. Well, that's how you can tell if someone's a hard worker. So like if they respond and react to that in a positive way, like yeah, maybe they Like if you said that to me, I'd be pissed off and I wouldn't talk to you for 2 weeks. But that whole time, I'd be working hard to I would take your advice and then work hard to make the thing stronger and then bring something back to you. So it shows that they, you know what I mean? Like it shows that they had that potential to go
Yeah.
and really do a good job.
And so yeah, the short answer is, like, selfishly speaking, all the stuff that you haven't heard yet is secretly on my playlist, and
And it's good.
in due time you'll all hear it. But I think I listen to a lot of pop and alternative stuff, so like I love like Dua Lipa, and I love like Pale Waves, and
Mm-hmm.
I just love all that kind of shit. Like if I'm jamming in the car, like I love pop.
Someone also said, did you know that Holy Roller was gonna break the internet the way that it did? And they said thank you for your hard work.
Yeah, that's when you guys sent that song.
That's the first time, guys, that Jason ever
It might have been like the
said was
biggest
like, I
reaction
love,
I've
yeah.
ever seen. I remember like Blessed Be being like, okay, this is fucking cool. Like this, like I know where this is gonna go. But I knew you guys are not just like a one trick pony. So it was like I know Blessed Be that's the only time this is Blessed Be, and there's nothing that's gonna be 2.0.
Yeah.
So when you sent me Holy Roller and I listened to it the first time through, and I immediately took my headphones out and I played it for Andrew, and then I just kept playing it for people that were around me, and all of us were like, this is gonna fucking this song should not be successful, but it's going to explode. Like
I
like
know.
when you like put things together on paper of like what song you think would be a hit song, this is not it.
Yeah.
But I just had this feeling in our world, just everything happening. I
It's the
just,
right time. Like everything was the right time.
yeah, it was fucking insane. I remember, and you guys were like, oh my God, this is the first time you've ever said these words to any song.
Yeah, like he was like, oh my god, guys, this is fucking crazy. Ah, we were just like, did someone steal Jason's phone?
Yeah.
Is Jason drunk right now?
I'm really hard on you guys. So I
Yeah.
feel that was me just being like, I like this, there's nothing I can say, but this is it.
Yeah, he loved it. So that was a good sign. That made us go, okay, Jason likes this. It must be pretty good. Um, and sorry, I know you gotta go. I'm just gonna. There's just a couple really cool
Yeah.
ones. How did this is from Michael? This is how did the tour with Limp Bizkit come about? Did they reach out to you or the other way around?
So there's part of that I can't answer, but I'll give like a as much as I can because I don't want to disclose certain things. But it basically was very natural. Like there was some communication with our company and Fred and potentially working together. Um, but when you're chasing a client, you don't sit there and brag about all the other clients you have. You talk
Yeah,
about that client. So at that stage, like Spiritbox was never mentioned to Fred or anyone. And things didn't quite work out like with that relationship formulating, but I got this random email from their agent who I know and was like, hey, Fred is a huge fucking fan of Spiritbox. Are you guys interested in touring together? And um, I was like, yes, like, please talk to Nick, our agent. So I forwarded it to Nick, and Nick was like, okay, cool, I'll stand by and see what happens. But I guess to back up a little bit, there was some conversation internally um, about a tour that was going to be more of like a festival kind of tour, and Spiritbox was always on that list
mm-hmm.
amongst some other really cool like hip hop and other artists. But that idea just never formulated, and I wasn't the one leading that conversation, so I never really knew how much Spiritbox's name was like actually discussed amongst those guys. I just always knew it was like on the list of ideas to present them, but turns out they were already fans. Like Wes is a fan too.
That's so fucking crazy to us, Jason. Like, I can't even imagine talking to them on tour. Like, I'm like, are they gonna be around the venue, or are they just gonna be like at their hotel and then show up when it's time? Like, I don't. What do I say to them? I'm just gonna be like,
Here's a really funny another one of those manifest moments where Mike, we had told Mike that there were some loose conversations with us talking to Fred, and it would be cool to work with them, but wasn't sure what was going to happen. And I got like a late night text, and Mike was like, "Do you think Fred would want a guest vocal on the record?" And I was like, "I don't know that there's a strong enough relationship there yet to ask him, and I don't know if that really makes sense, but I get the idea." And then he goes, "All right, fair enough." And then I was like, "Are they drunk or is this a legit idea?" And
no, they were
then,
just really into it.
but it's just funny because like his name would come up a few times throughout Spiritbox history.
Yeah,
So it's really just funny that while we never approached them to potentially do a guest spot, like they approached us to go on tour. So it's like it's
yeah.
just crazy.
People want to always find a reason, like oh, they just got that because of this and blah blah blah. But it's generally, for our experience, because we're our band has been just reacting to outside stimuli. Like, it's just been us saying yes to stuff. Like, it's, it hasn't been us we'll do this, we'll buy onto this thing, and then well, it's just very simple. it's
Yeah.
it's they asked us
That
and
was
we
a
said
very organic
yes.
thing, and we had
Yeah.
said no to some crazy shit before that
that's
opportunity.
what that's what the next question was, is like, are there other bands that have been expressed interest in touring or working with Spiritbox? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into the full detail of who, but there's been some very influential people that it just hasn't made the most sense. Like timing wise, it just didn't
Yeah,
work out, or financially, it didn't make sense.
but it's still cool to be like, it's cool to be asked, and it's cool to know that those bands that we look up to are know who we are. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they were all amazing opportunities, and given different circumstances, we may have been able to do some of these things, but um, yeah, it's been really crazy because some of the stuff, like I said, 5 years ago, these would have been automatic yeses, and we would have, just jumped right in. But yeah, we've just had to, we've had so much going on. We've had to be really mindful of everything and
Yeah.
be really strategic with all the decisions we make.
Well, to wrap, I know you got to go. So to wrap this up, um, there just briefly, um, this has been like a really fast, rapid thing for this band. And every time I ask you, like, do you have any friends that you can ask advice for, of like a band of our level, what we should be doing with like how new we are? And you usually are like, no, I don't have any friends that I can ask. I don't know anyone else that this is happening to, like current, like this way, the way that it's happening for this band. So like, now if you can look back, is our rise, is it like, is it making things easier for you, or actually like harder for you?
Um, it's tricky because I don't think anything's ever easy, but I think it's instilled a lot more confidence in every decision we make,
Yeah.
whether some people might say we're crazy for saying no to something, but we always have the best strategic answer of why, and people are respecting that versus when you're a younger band saying no to certain things, you kind of feel the pressure to say yes,
Yeah.
and because of other forces in the industry wanting the opportunity to be taken. And I think the most beautiful thing is anytime we've said no to something, it's been with complete confidence and strategy, and everyone's respected it. There's been
Yeah.
no pushback of really, and or, so it's been easier in that regard of like people are just like letting us do our thing because it's clearly worked. But it becomes harder because the stakes are higher, the pressure is
Mhm.
higher. You feel the pressure on your shoulder of like, we're gonna fuck up at some point. Like we can't always make the right decision, from the fan perspective, it might be the right decision for us, but someone's going to be upset about something at some time, and like, what is that going to be? Like you
Yeah.
sort of feel that pressure of like, what goes up must come down, and but does it really have to come crashing down? Like, how do we just like, like just go up and down a little
Come
bit?
down. Ebb and flow. Ebb and flow.
Yeah. So I feel like it's harder because the expectation industry is sort of has, and the eyes and the focus. It's harder because people are looking and waiting for something to bitch about.
Yeah. That's true. They'll find it soon.
And
But
yeah, it's inevitable.
yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, I thought maybe people would be like, "Why are you going out with Limp Bizkit?" Which most people did, but it was like those who really know were like, "This is the coolest fucking thing ever." Like,
Yeah.
I know why they did this.
Yeah. It's I'm so excited. And finally that kind of ties into the final question, which is of you personally, what do you see for our band, for Spiritbox, like for our future? Like what do you in your little evil mastermind, like what is your vision for this band at our
Uh,
peak?
I think my ultimate goal is to just have fluidity and be able to do a cool metal tour or metalcore tour, but then also do, yeah, something in the mainstream rock space, but then be able to go back and forth. Like, not a lot of bands can do that. It's like you're either this or you're that, and the second you cross over, you sold out. Like, I think I just would love to stop that and just be able to go jump in whatever pool is willing to have us, and as long as it makes sense and we feel it's the best decision to do. Like, I want to continue to make new fans, and the only way to do that is to play for new audiences. you know so
Yeah.
I selfishly, I want world domination. I want to be the biggest fucking thing on the planet, and I want to play Coachella and Firefly, but also if Scott Lee brings back New England Metal and Hardcore Fest, let's go do that too. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to do all that, and that's like what I'm striving for.
That's good. That's what we want too, because we just want to be able to we just want to be able to do whatever we want, and then the financial reward just comes from that purity rather than us bending who we are and stuff for the financial reward.
Yeah,
And so I just want to be able to do whatever I want, and I think a part of that just is being not so um, caught up in genres and subgenres and just play your music, so
yeah. I want a lot of those barriers to come down. I want to be one of the few and first bands to be able to do it. Like, if you look at like a Machine Gun Kelly or like Olivia Rodrigo, all these artists that are technically pop, like MGK is on the active rock charts, but
yeah.
also on the alternative chart because that's where pop lives. But they're able to do it, and no one gives them any shit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
in their world, you know. So why can't we cross over into that world?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just my goal is just to continue to do the unexpected.
Well, I bet that this will actually have people have a lot more questions for you, so if you guys have any questions, you can leave some comments on this, on either the YouTube comment section or just on Patreon, because I think this will like actually bring a lot more questions than answers to people, because it's just like your career is so crazy. Like it's just so interesting how you got to where you got, and what you're looking for in bands and stuff. So
And I don't do these kinds of things normally, so I don't ever. I mean, I don't have. Like, I've never talked about this stuff, so this has been like fun, and I've been asked to do podcasts and stuff before, and I just say no. But so yeah, I'll be an open book for the Spiritbox to do a part 2, 3, 4, whatever.
Well, yeah, unfortunately for you, yeah, that's for Jason. I'm like, earn your commission, brother. It's time for you to get in there. So we'll have him back, because I think it would be kind of cool if we do something like this where we talk to bands. Yeah, not during this.
Because then we could talk about some of the things that we put on paper and we set out to achieve, and let's see if we did it.
Yeah, let's do that
with the help of all the fans, of course.
Yeah, so let's do that for sure. So yeah, thanks, Jason, and now get back to work. Get back to work making me money and making my dreams come true. I guess you're off? Are you kind of off work today?
Yeah, we're out of office.
Yeah.
And, I have some emails to go over, but I'm gonna try and enjoy the day off. But you know how that goes.
I know. I'll try to leave you alone as much as possible.